Welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm pleased to meet with you all today to let you know more about our graduate certificate in cybersecurity. My name is Genevieve Jordan. I'm a Senior Product Manager at RMIT Online, and I've been working with colleagues in the STEM college here at RMIT on the design and delivery of this program. Firstly, though, I would like to acknowledge the Woiwurrung and Boonwurrung people of the Eastern Kulin Nations, on whose unceded lands we conduct the business of the university. I acknowledge their ancestors and elders, past and present. I also acknowledge the traditional custodians and their ancestors of the lands and waters across Australia. And joining me today, we've got a really interesting panel. Welcome to Professor Iqbal Gondal. Iqbal is going to give us an overview of the program. He'll highlight what you'll be able to learn through it, how the program is structured, what you can expect from our teaching staff. Iqbal is Associate Dean for Cybersecurity and Software Systems at RMIT, and he's the Program Manager for this graduate certificate in cybersecurity. And then we'll also hear from RMIT Online's Mark Charlery. Mark heads up RMIT Online's teams responsible for advising on student enrolments and marketing. He'll be talking a bit about how to apply for the program, enroll in your first courses, and some of the key dates that you will need to know. And most importantly, we'll have time for questions. So feel free to start popping questions in the chat during the webinar. We'll be able to answer as many as we can as we go. And then we'll try and make time for some more questions at the end. Note also that we are recording this session, and we'll be able to share that recording with folks afterwards. So I might move on just to talk a little bit about some of the details of the program before handing over to my colleagues here. So the program duration is equivalent to 6 months full-time. Most of our students, however, do it part-time over 12 months, and that's really just so that they can fit around their work and other commitments that they may have. To gain the graduate certificate, you complete 4 courses. So there's 2 core courses, and you choose another 2 from a list of 4. So you get to tailor your program a little bit to your interest areas. And I'll let Iqbal talk in a bit more detail shortly just about the structure of the program and the curriculum. Last year, we gave the program quite a significant revamp. There's a new structure which gives you more choice. We've reduced the amount of maths in the program, and that's really just to reflect contemporary practice in the sector. So you know it's going to be an up-to-date program and relevant to the real world. In terms of how you learn in this program, it is taught wholly online, and many of the learning activities can be completed at a time that suits you. You don't have to attend campus. You don't have to be locked in to having lots of timetabled classes. Instead, you do some learning individually. You'll be part of a group of learners to share ideas with, and you'll have access to an expert learning facilitator for each course. You'll also be able to join webinars at key points in each teaching period, or if you can't make the webinar time, you can watch those as recordings. Our assessments are very much project-based and intended to be really authentic and real-world. So that gives you a chance to create projects for a real-world scenario. So again, that's really all about making sure that you can be confident that what you're learning is up-to-date and really relevant. There is some flexibility in the number of courses you take at any given point in time as well. So many people do 1 course per teaching period, but if you wish, you can accelerate that. And if the courses are available, you may be able to take 2 or more. Or alternatively, if you need to take a break or want to take a break, you can do that. Just take a leave of absence and then pick up where you left off afterwards. You'll also have access to our team of student success advisors. So they can assist you with all sorts of things like submitting assessments, applying for an extension if you need to, special consideration, accessing tech support where that's needed, or even accessing the library's online collection. So they're very much your support crew from really start to finish in the program. Something else you might be interested in finding out a bit about our pathways. So once you've completed the grad cert in cybersecurity, you can also continue on to the Master of Cybersecurity if you wish. It's an on-campus program, but you will get credit for 4 courses that you've already done as part of that. And then that means that you'll be able to complete your Masters more quickly. The program itself is very much industry connected, and this is another reason why we're really pleased to have Warwick on board today. Our teaching staff have relevant experience from industry, as well as experience naturally in teaching and researching in a higher education context. And it's been great, as I say, to have Palo Alto networks on board to help shape the experience for you. We'll hear from Warwick shortly. In addition, the School of Science, which is in the broader STEM college, it has an industry advisory committee, which provides feedback on the currency of all of our programs, including this one, and the changing needs of industry. So that's also a really important part of what we do. So next, I'm going to hand over to Iqbal to talk about the program itself, what you'll learn, the different electives you can choose, and a bit more about the learning experience. So over to you, Iqbal.
Thank you very much, Genevieve, giving the overall view of the program and what's the sort of, student can do various different streams. So I will talk about, first of all, I'm a professor in cybersecurity, and I also look after this particular area here in RMIT as well. So we have got around 30 staff members, which is on campus. They do all the research and also teaching and support RMIT online, the program, which is we have a graduate certificate in cybersecurity. So when we looked at the revamping the program, our motivation was that how we make sure that it meets the industry's expectations. And we had extensive consultation with industry, not only domestically, nationally, but also internationally as well. We wanted to make sure that it meets the requirements and the needs of the industry. And we also looked at that the cohort of the students who would be joining, they would be from the diverse background. They would be coming from the non-technical backgrounds. They would have changing some pathways in their careers. So we cater for all of them. So I wanted to make sure that we, in this program, we prepare them first with the core body of the knowledge, which is, they learn about some of the computing related areas first, so then they can do the advanced courses much more with ease and understanding. So that's kind of the way program this goes. In the very beginning, we give a very broad introduction about the introduction to cybersecurity, where you learn about the cryptography, where you learn the need of the cybersecurity, why we need it, what type of the services are available when you are working within the industry, where to find them, and also network security. And we use practical tools at that level as well, so which gives the student hand-on experience. And of course, cybersecurity cannot be anywhere if there is no networks. So computer networks, telecommunication network, these days we know IoT devices, networks. So we teach that as well. So we make sure that the students are also well aware of that. And one of the fundamental things when you go to the industry, one is you do compliance, various other tasks, but in some cases you may have to do some programming as well, where you want to write some tools, so we teach you Python programming language, which is the easiest way is to introduce the programming. So after doing these courses, students are ready to do the other courses after that, which they would take they would benefit out of that. So what other area where is it, if we know that in cybersecurity systems, they generate enormous amount of the data. So that data, Warwick knows better than me that, these type of the attacks could be hidden somewhere in the data. So to finding that needle in the hay, we also offer practical data science with Python as well. So where you can use that sort of strategies, how to process that data, how to find the insight into that data, how to use various tools. And that means that gives you a unique skill in the industry, enormous amount of the jobs in that area as well. So then other is ethical hacking and security testing. An enormous amount of sort of job market there for that particular area, because for the compliance purposes, making sure that if we can hack to our systems, so that's better. So that is a practice which we really follow, that ethical hacking is we teach that among the students. so they can go and practice their own workplaces as well, and they can assure their systems are secure. So if there are any vulnerabilities there, they can sort of patch those vulnerabilities. And the important thing is not cybersecurity, not always technical solution. It is also about the strategy, the governance, and management side as well. So in this program, there is an elective there as well if you wanted to go into that area as well. The teaching, the way it happens, we have the very experienced course coordinators. We have got a very well uh, sort of industry aware our teaching staffs. Uh, Online support is provided through our web pages, and you can do your assessments flexibly. So, there's a certain deadline given, but you can do anytime during that period of the time. You can ask the questions. The support is provided by the staff members who are working with you. And similarly, if there is any kind of structure related issue, of course, through RMIT Online, you can reach to me as well about the structure where I can advise which can align better with the career where you wanted to go, what type of the electives could be possible there. So other pathways are that when you have completed this program, so as Genevieve has already talked about, you will get the credit going to Master of Cybersecurity. If you wanted to go into specialization, so there's all information is given on our website. The important thing is looking at when you have completed this certificate, you are ready. A lot of jobs in the industry, which could be software test, security testing area, security analyst, for example, doing research in the area, using the data to seek some insight about the cybersecurity compliance area. So it prepares you for those roles as well. So I would say that it provides the flexibility, it provides you the knowledge, and it considers where you are coming from. You are having the bachelor degree, your entry is from there. Either you are coming with the industry experience that can be recognized as well. So these are the sort of various things, and if there are any more inquiries in this area, I'll be more than happy to respond to in the question and answers area.
Iqbal, I see there's a couple of questions in the chat actually about the projects that students will undertake as part of the degree. Are you able to give some examples of the kinds of projects that are incorporated?
Okay, so broadly, I will talk about in cybersecurity various different programs. We call them capstone projects. So there are two types, in fact, three types of the areas where we can do. One could be the project which you, student, and a teaching staff member, they agreed on particular project, unique area which you wanted to work. They can work with you, and that project could be over the duration of one semester. And there's a close supervision takes place, and in the end there is an outcome which is demonstrable. Either it's a report or whatever outcome is of that project. That's one type of the project. Other projects that come, a lot of our projects come from the industry. We have a lot of industry partners, like, for example, Palo Alto type, sort of, many others. They give us their projects. So they are like industry sponsor. The student work with the industry for one semester to complete that project under the supervision of the staff member and the industry partner as well. And the third could be, it's in some programs we do allow as a industry attachment, which is the internship programs as well. So which you fully 100% go and work with the industry, but that depends what program you are in. So there are different ways to go to that one. So it's a very negotiable projects where we establish what type of the project student would like to do. We have got a specialized lecturers who take care of these projects particularly, so they can provide a lot more guidance on that.
Thank you for that. And the other part of that question was, are there exams? And the answer to that is no, there are not exams.
No, we don't have our exams in our MIT. It's all in semester assessments, which is a very much industry linked assessments. So let's say you could have the three assignments. might be a small project which you are doing, might be a presentation you are making based on your work, what you have done. So it's all depends on course to course different, but we do not have exam finals, so you will not have to worry about the final exams.
It's often a question that comes up because I know it's a concern for a lot of students. Thank you, Iqbal. I will hand over now to Mark Charlery just to talk a bit about the application and enrolment processes and some of the key dates that apply.
Thanks, Jen, and hello, everybody. So maybe I'll go into the application process first because we've tried to make it as streamlined and simple as possible. As you'll see in the chat, I've just posted our program page, which has a decent snapshot of all of the information relating to the program. It also allows you the ability to download a brochure, links to the program too. But if you want to apply directly, you can also do that from that page. Now, we do have a team of enrolments advisors, as Jen mentioned before, and they're ready to assist you anytime between Monday and Friday from 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. And you can contact them here.
Are you able to speak up a bit, Mark, or get closer to your speaker? To your microphone?
Is that any better?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, okay. I'll just hold it like this then. So yeah, I'm not sure if you missed anything, but I'll just go over that. I posted a page, which is our program page relating to the online grad cert of cybersecurity. Okay, good. And yeah, loads of information on there. You can also download a brochure that covers all key modules around the program. And that page also gives you the ability to apply directly. Now, if you need any assistance, we have a team of enrollments advisors who are available to talk to you anytime between Monday and Friday from 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. And I'll just post the number in there too. If you download a brochure, you'll actually flow into our CRM, which is like our customer relations management platform, and our advisors will proactively contact you if needs be. Once you've done the application, you'll go through, or once you're ready to submit your application, you'll go through to a direct page. So the application will flow directly through to the STEM admissions team. And typically, we look to turn around those within 3 to 5 days. Now, if there is additional information required, our enrollments advisors will be in touch, or the admissions team will be in touch with you directly. And again, our advisors will be able to assist you through that process. In terms of the key dates, bear with me, because my laptop has just done something a bit silly. Okay, so for teaching period 3, which is the upcoming period in July, the last day to apply will be the 23rd of June. So you've still got a few weeks left to get your applications in. The last day to accept will be the 26th of June. And then the last day to enroll will be 4th of July. Classes will begin on the 7th of July. Now, you will be able to access some of the learning materials from the 30th, which was about a week before, and that's typically how we open it up, so be able to familiarize yourself. And during that week, if not before, as Jen had mentioned before, our student success team will be in touch to help you with orientation. I think that's it for me. Are there any questions related to the admissions process?
I can see there's some questions in the chat of a more general nature. So what we might do, Mark, if you're comfortable, is I might actually hand over to Warwick to talk about careers with a grad cert in cybersecurity, and then we'll come back to some of the questions that are in the chat, which are more general in nature. But I guess people can just keep putting their questions in the chat as we go. But why don't we hand over to Warwick for now, and it'd be great to hear from you, Warwick, around the types of jobs students can use, having done a grad cert in cybersecurity, how people progress in the industry, a bit about your experiences. That would be fantastic. Thanks.
Yeah, no worries. So everyone, my name is Warwick Kane. I've worked in the IT industry and the cyber industry for 20 plus years now, and progressed from sort of working at ISPs and in sort of networking equipment manufacturers and the like, and spent the last 8 years now at Palo Alto Networks. Now, for those that don't know, Palo Alto Networks is probably the largest cybersecurity company in the world. We look after all of the top targets in the world. We are probably one of the top targets ourselves, given that everyone would love to get into our source code to then get into everybody else. And and we have to protect. We are constantly basically evolving and protecting customers around the world. Now, in terms of career pathways, it's probably the most important thing that everyone wants to know about is what if I do this, what am I going to be able to do and where am I going to be able to go? The good thing is, it really is, you've got so many different pathways, right? So when you first start out in your career, early in career, there is lots of different entry-level positions. There's not a single way in. There is plenty of different ways in. You can start at things like a security analyst role or a security operations center where you're an analyst, right? Where you're basically helping look after customers. You're looking at their security logs. You're looking to identify where attackers might be trying to come in and penetrate a customer's network, and helping to stop that and helping to escalate that to level 2, level 3 type engineers to put a block on it and to kick bad guys out, right? So, and you can obviously progress from there into level 2, level 3 type roles. There's also things like standard IT networking support, right, where you might also have a security focus, right? So there's lots of different ways you can come in. When you get sort of a little bit of experience, there's things like penetration testing or ethical hacking that I was talking about before as well, where you use tools like Kali Linux and other things where you can actually go in and run penetration tests against a customer. Obviously, they're paying you or paying your company to allow you to actually do that, and they're expecting these things to happen. And you try and attack and basically provide them a report as to what you found, ways, if you were able to get in, were you able to get in and then move laterally from sort of a front-end web server to the crown jewels and steal people's personal information and the like, right? So customers are always wanting to do this on a regular basis because they need to know where the holes are, where the gaps are. Things like being able to be a security architect then. So how do we actually architect solutions to defend against these attacks, right? And where are the holes? What's coming up? What are the industry trends? What do we need to be able to do? Things like digital forensics analysts as well. So if things happen and there is an attack, being able to be that forensics analyst after the fact and say they came in and they attacked here, they then moved. So that to this point, they stole this, they lived inside the network for a certain amount of time, and be able to provide reports and the like around the forensics of an actual incident. There are so many different jobs around, and governance and risk is probably the other big one, and leadership, right? So we're providing that governance and risk across the board to actually say these are the things that we need to do. Advising boards. Security now has a seat at most company board tables, right? Because it is one of the #1 risks about a company going gangbusters to being destroyed overnight. Right, losing that trust. You can all think of the Optus hack, the Medibank hack, all these hacks that have happened where they don't necessarily destroy the company, but I'll tell you the brand damage and the loss of revenue and the like is so significant that the company boards now want cybersecurity to be talked about on every single meeting. Right, so there's a real significant career in cybersecurity. Talking about some of the trends that are actually happening at the moment as well. So the big one at the moment is really around AI, right? So as everybody knows, AI is exploding, right? And it's not just about the generative AI, it's about using AI to actually defend networks and to defend companies' front ends, right? So why have an alert that someone has to respond to if we can trust AI to respond for us, right? Plugging in that automation, building complex flowcharts or playbooks, as we call them, to be able to say, when we see this, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, have 100 steps and only ask right at the end potentially for a security analyst, do you agree with me doing the final step to block, or do you agree with closing out an incident? Right, there's all these things happening now. And we're defending against more and more complex AI environments where the attackers are using it as well. Right, there are things, ransomware used to be a thing where people might try to manually come in and attack. It's no longer a ransomware where it's manual. It's ransomware as a service, right? The attackers themselves, they don't even know what they're doing. They're actually subscribing to an attacker's service and saying, please attack this company for me, right? It has become monetized. It has become a multi-billion-dollar industry where people are offering their services to other people and just saying, yep, I don't want responsibility for it. I'll let you take it. I'll just offer the capability. So things are really, really changing. Also around quantum computing, all right? So quantum computing is going to change the game and evolutionize IT, where current encryption standards are going to be blown away. So we as an industry, in Palo Alto in particular, are getting ready for a post-quantum world. And what I mean by that is that we're starting to introduce post-quantum ciphers and things like that can't be broken, right? There's a concept of actually save and replay and crack later, right? Where people can actually, if they're in the network and they can save your traffic, they can save the encrypted stuff. And when they get access to a quantum computer, replay it and crack it, and then pull out the information now. So we're getting ready for that and trying to prevent those sorts of attacks as well. It's an ever-growing industry that you'll constantly be learning, which is a good and bad thing. But most people, I think, that are going to be interested in this, we all love to continuously learn, right? So there will be a continuous learning experience for you in this industry. And if you think about the security challenges as well around cybersecurity, there is a massive skill shortage, and it's only getting worse, right? So in terms of job security, in terms of the salaries that you'll earn, at the moment, I don't see it going down. I don't see it getting easier and easier to get roles and get jobs, especially if you have such a great start as getting a graduate certificate from RMIT Online, right? So being able to get that will get you into the industry very, very quickly, get you into a medium level role, and I'll kickstart your career for you. So it's a great idea to look at doing this graduate certificate. And I'll probably pass back for now, unless there's any other questions.
There are some questions coming in through the chat, so we'll come to those. But thank you, Warwick. That was really interesting. Certainly a field where things just keep on moving. And there was a question I noticed about AI, so I think you've partially answered that already too, which is fantastic. I'll pick up on a couple of the questions that are sort of practical in nature, if you like, initially. And then we'll move to some other ones. So there's a question, are you able to do this with a full-time job? The short answer is yes. The program is designed for people who are juggling the program with other commitments, whether it be work or otherwise. As I said, most students choose to do one course at a time and work through it that way. And we tend to advise students to allow somewhere in the order of 10 to 15 hours per week of study time across their own individual learning, plus other learning and webinars and other activities that they may be doing. So it's possible to do a second course at a time. That obviously is quite a time commitment. Mostly people do the one at a time, but it is possible to do multiple subjects if you're in a position to support that. And then there's another question there I see around seeing there are no exams. Is the course a competency-based course like TAFE or a marks-based course? It is a higher education program, so a university qualification. It is a graduate certificate, so it's not a TAFE program. And students do get a mark. It's not competency-based. Students will get a mark, usually represented as a score out of 100, and then that gets converted through to a descriptive title as well. But so it's not competency-based, so I can be quite clear about that. Information about fees is on our website, and Jemima has shared the link there. For the full graduate certificate, the 4 courses, we're looking at 14,880, and that works out to 3,720 per course. You can use fee help to manage those payments if you're eligible, but more information about that is on our website. Just can I come back to this question about AI? And Zane's put in a question, is AI going to have any impact on this industry? Warwick, I think you've given us some really good examples there. Iqbal, I wondered if you also wanted to weigh in here on your thoughts, because it's such an important thing. It's such a topical area at the moment as well.
Definitely. I wanted to give an example. I attended a conference last year, which is the governments. They get together in Singapore. The main topic was AI, cybersecurity, and quantum. These 3 elements together, they would disrupt the cybersecurity area, particularly AI and quantum both when they come into play. So yes, AI can be utilized, of course, in both ways. AI can be used for defending purposes, of course, the way Warwick has talked about. It can be automated solutions. Then the final lab would be that presenting that solution to the an analyst and then devising that. So, but these solutions, which are AI solutions, they can be attacked as well because they are trained with the data. So their behavior changes if their training patterns they change. So we need to defend these even AI solutions as well, which are actually protecting our assets, in fact. If we look at the other side of that, the bad word side of things, the cyber attackers, they can use AI as well now to design new attacks as well. So it is important for us to make use of AI far better than them so we can win. So AI is a very much part and parcel, developing, making decisions, providing the solutions. So that's, I would say that, we can't live without AI. And again, it solves a lot of our problems, but at the same time, we need to defend AI solutions as well at the same time.
And another question, I think, for you, Iqbal, do you believe in-depth coding knowledge is required for the industry? Obviously, the industry is changing all the time. Coding is part of the program. Can you talk a bit more about that?
Okay. First of all, the coding which we are introducing in this particular program, that's a Python-based programming, which is very easy to learn. First of all, the second is that it depends on the nature of the job you are going into and what that job is. In some roles, coding may be not needed even. So you are more using the tools to defend, to looking at the vulnerabilities, generating reports, or assessing the cybersecurity aspects of those. But in some cases, you may have to do the coding. In fact, or we call it, one role is called the malware reverse engineering, where in fact you are given you have the role where you are trying to understand the behaviors of these malwares, these malicious softwares. So that is where you really need to know quite good in-depth coding as well. So it depends and those jobs are a little bit advanced level jobs. They are normally not entry-level jobs even.
Yeah.
So it all depends, where we are. So maybe Warren can talk about a little bit more on that.
Yeah, I'll probably jump in there, right? So in-depth coding, you're right, exactly right. I would say 80% of the jobs currently do not need in-depth coding, right? But there is probably 20% of the jobs where you absolutely do. Reverse malware analysis is a great example that Bell came up with. But also sometimes plugging the gaps where the tool sets you have may not do exactly what you want. And so you might want to write a Python script or something to automate a particular function, because otherwise you're needing to hire staff to do manual work constantly, and it's much easier to write a Python script. So there are elements where you need small amounts of coding skills. There are jobs where you need in-depth, but a lot of jobs do not require any. It's more around, especially if you're looking at governance, risk and compliance and the like. Those are jobs where it's more the leadership and the thought leadership and setting the standards. That's not where you're needing it. It's more around that response, right, type of role.
Thank you, and clearly a good question too. Another question is around the job recruitment process. And the question is the job recruiting process in cybersecurity the same as software development recruiting process? Warwick, I'm going to hand to you first.
Yeah, no worries. Definitely not. I think software development recruiting, a lot of the time people will ask, as a part of the recruiting process, they'll ask you to do some software development to prove your skills. Doesn't happen in cybersecurity. We're not going to put you in front of a console and say, detect this and block this and do that sort of thing. It's going to be more a question and answer type recruitment process is generally, and I do a lot of recruiting myself. I'm actually part of the hiring process at Palo Alto Networks. It's tell me about a scenario where you've done this, or tell me about how you would approach this. These are the types of questions we ask. It's not going to be all right, get in front of a console and show me how you would do this, right? It's going to be more question answer.
And Iqbal, do you have any further thoughts or Do you feel that's
Yeah,
covered?
that's very much is because again, it depends on what area you are going into, and of course the questions and the knowledge which they would industry when they are doing the interview process, they would look at that. Does that person has those capabilities? And in that case, and in software engineering, of course, in that area, you need to know how to develop softwares. So that might be they wanted to test that person knows. Here, most of the time it won't be. It's more about knowing about the concepts, about the overall understanding about cybersecurity, and more important is really understanding the needs, what are the industry's needs are, and how to provide that solution, how to work with the customers to understanding how to pick up where could be the vulnerabilities, and then devising the solution. Problem solving is a big problem, capability needed in this area.
Terrific, thank you. A couple more questions. Sam's asking if we can elaborate on the pathway to the master's program. So as I mentioned, the grad certificate is 4 courses, or in our world, we call that 48 credit points. So students who've completed that graduate certificate can move directly into the Masters of Cybersecurity, and Iqbal's also looking after that program, and get credit for all of those 48 credit points, or those 4 courses out of the Masters. So that means you don't have to do 4 courses that you otherwise would have had to do as part of that Masters program. And a question about CSPs. We don't actually have CSPs or Commonwealth supported places for this program at the moment. We have the full fees that I mentioned earlier. However, we do have fee help, so students are able to defer their payments of those fees if they're eligible for that program. So that's the answer to that one for now. A comment, I guess, every job that I looked at in computer software, they want you to have at least a minimum 12 months experience. Or sorry, in cybersecurity. Every job that I looked at in cybersecurity, they want you to have at least a minimum of 12 months experience. Warwick, is that your experience as well?
No, that's not. It depends on the role that you're going into, right? So as I sort of talked about earlier, security operations centers or security analyst type roles, if you've got the graduate certificate, you don't need the experience, right? They are dying for people, right? So the security operations centers and low entry level roles, people they can't fill the roles, right? So you don't necessarily need that 12 months experience. That's where you get that 12 months experience, right? That is that entry level role that you need to go into, and you will learn a lot by doing that as well. You'll be using tools like a security incident and event management, a SIEM tool. You'll be using tools such as a firewall. You'll be looking at XDR, EDR tools to be able to identify incidents. You'll be swiveling between tool sets, right, to be able to actually help identify incidents, determine whether they're false positive, what needs to actually happen, escalating to level 2, level 3, as I mentioned. Obviously, if you try to go in at a more senior role, yeah, they're going to need experience, right? But there are definitely a lot of roles you can go and apply for that don't need the experience. They will want you to prove that, hey, you're keen, you're really excited about their role. There's going to be an interview process, so you'll need to turn up and be very positive and get through that first part, because it is competitive. But if you show the right things, and I know a lot of my friends and a lot of people that I'm working with, mentoring, they've been able to get some experience straight out of university or even straight out of high school, even like doing a CCNA course or the like. But obviously, you'll have a lot better chance if you've done a cybersecurity course than not.
Terrific. Thanks, Warwick. Good. Another question from Laverne. What are the advantages of studying cybersecurity over other computer science graduate certificates, such as software engineering and AI? Who wants to take this first? Iqbal?
Yeah, so again, it depends on your interest. One thing is that. The second is a job market as well, because cybersecurity is really, really a lot of opportunities there. Of course, in software engineering, in data science, in AI area, there are opportunities in those areas as well. But this is a very specialized area, cybersecurity, and Warwick would be able to talk about that, how the progression of the career is sort of, there's a pathway, after a certain number of years, from entry level, you can progress up higher level, up to, I think, maybe chief information security officer level. I don't know how long it takes, but again, not everybody becomes CISO, but you need to develop leadership capability, have the capabilities as well, So there is a lot of demand in this area, in private sector and in the government sector as well. It depends where you wanted to go. So that's the reason we are seeing a lot of students coming to our programs. Either they are undergraduate, either they are certificate, either they're master program in cybersecurity. So there is a lot of students that's switching from computer science in many cases to cybersecurity, in fact. Sometimes you can do the combination as well. You can do the specialization in computer science, but you can do major also in cybersecurity or minor in cybersecurity to complement your skills as well. Maybe Warren can talk about a little bit more on that.
Yeah, look, I think you've well covered it pretty well. It really comes down to your interest and where you want your career to go, right? So if you've got a really clear definition of where you want to go and you want to be in cybersecurity, then do the cybersecurity course, right? If you're still not sure, and it's okay to not be sure, you can do computer science or other courses. That doesn't mean you can't shift your career, right? You can always shift around and do things. You're just going to need to learn again, right? And as we mentioned earlier, this is an ever-evolving industry. You're always going to be learning anyway, right? So there's no reason why you can't shift. But where your interest is where you're going to get the best results, and your career will naturally gravitate to your interest, right? That's where you're going to have the most fun. That's where you'll be the most successful. That's always the advice, is if you've got a real natural interest and a natural curiosity, go down that path until it proves otherwise.
Always good advice, I think. Next one, I think I'll pass this to you, Mark. Do you have any advice for someone considering this graduate certificate, but also studying full time? So a question around sort of how do you balance workloads while doing a course as well as other aspects of your life?
I think the key is to manage your study load. I don't think you should be overloading yourself in these instances, because you're just not going to give yourself enough time to ingest all the information that you need. So I think you'd have to consider that pretty carefully, whether you'd want to take on another form of study while you're currently in full-time study. The courses and programs can be pretty time consuming, and you want to give yourself the best chance for success.
Good, thanks, Mark. And as I mentioned earlier, students can take more than one course at a time if they wish, but they can also, on the other hand, take a break or leave of absence if they need, and then come back to their studies afterwards. So that can be very helpful for a lot of people. We might have time really just for maybe one last question. And I'm looking at this one about people from a non-IT background. So the question is this particular course suitable for someone from a non-IT background, particularly in terms of the prerequisites and its relevance for individuals looking to transition to cybersecurity with no prior experience in the field? So when I look at the entry requirements, I noticed that we're asking for an Australian bachelor degree or 5 years work experience in a related industry. So very clearly open to people who don't have IT as their background. But maybe Iqbal, you could talk more specifically around how students from other backgrounds can come into the program and then actually make that kind of pivot into a whole new career area.
Absolutely. When we looked at designing this program and broadly master even, we anticipated that the students who are going to be entering to this program, they are not going to be coming from, let's say, Bachelor of IT, Bachelor of Computer Science. They will be coming from Bachelor of Business, Bachelor of Art even. So they can make that transition. That's the reason the core subjects which are there, that is to help the student to sort of come to the level they can do the advanced courses. So introduction to cybersecurity, there's no prerequisite. Anybody can do it. We expect even some student school leavers, we take it from that level, in fact. So not considering that they would have any cybersecurity knowledge before, and then the programming in fundamentals as well, that again, it teaches them about the programming concepts as well with the use of Python. So absolutely no problem with that one. If you are coming from different backgrounds, let's say you have a Bachelor of Art, or you had experience of industry and working in the art industry, working in the business area, or some other area, you should be able to enter into the program and successfully complete that. Of course, there's a commitment is needed to learn, because there is always a shift being a technical side of, aspect to learning now. But it's all possible. That's absolutely no issue.
Yeah. Just to add to that as well, around the career path, I see a lot of people that I work with that don't come from a technical background, right? That work in cybersecurity, especially around things like governance, right? Governance and compliance and the like. That is more of a management level role. You don't need necessarily the in-depth tech skills. A governance person is not going to be doing penetration testing and the like, right? They're not going to be doing security analytics and that. Now, it's harder to get in as an early in career into that path, into the governance roles, because they're considered a little bit more senior. But if that is the path that you want to go down, you might not necessarily want to invest too much into the in-depth technical. You want to set a path where you do it enough, enough, get through the entry-level parts, and then you set your career objectives to go down that sort of the more management and more documentation and things like that around it. So it's definitely a path I see a lot of people taking.
And I think one of the key changes that we made to this course last year when we revamped it was actually to introduce more choice. And I think what you're talking about, both Warwick and Iqbal, is actually about people being able to kind of tailor the program to where they're wanting to head as much as what their background is. I think we may have about come, what's the entry level path? I'm hoping that we've covered that now. And I'm thinking that we're potentially pretty close to time, so we might wrap up there. Thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you particularly to Warwick, Iqbal and Mark, but everyone who's joined us today. We will be sharing a recording of this webinar so that you'll be able to look back over information if needed. And in that we'll include some links as well to some key pages on our website. So I guess I'll really just wrap up here and thank you all very much and wish you all the very best with your future studies and careers. Thank you all.